There's something familiar about this game, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
The Dark Sector.
For those of you unfamiliar with the story of Dark Sector, I've made another video explaining the origins and concepts of the game, which should be on your screen now, so before continuing, check out that video so you don't get too lost during this video. So, now that you're up to speed on Dark Sector and its origins, I can have a good moan about the final game. Dark Sector is one of those games that was lost in a massive mediocrity that stormed the video game industry in the early 7th generation of the home consoles. It started out with so much promise. It had the ability to show off what the Xbox 360 was capable of, and really take on a genre that was lacking any hard-hitting competitors, the stealth genre. Like the largest competitor, Splinter Cell, in the original short for Dark Sector, we saw a person stealthily infiltrating a facility using every tool at his disposal, and in the game the idea of taking on enemies in a straight fight seemed to be frowned upon. Now, however, for Dark Sector, we are given an over-the-shoulder third-person cover-based shooter. It's as if Dark Sector went through puberty at some point during its production and became scared of being different, as the other games with their big muscles and gritty attitudes pointed and laughed at Dark Sector's sleek character and pristine design. So after doing the right thing and giving in to peer pressure, Dark Sector became what it is today. I'm greatly prejudiced on the game, and it's not because I'm angry. I'm just genuinely disappointed in the end product. I know that the game could have been an amazing experiment into the power of video games, but it isn't. So in the game you work your way through levels, shooting a mass of masked minions in order to ironically stop a mass genocide. So you find out that you're CIA agent Hayden Tenno, and you're saving the world from a new infectious disease like the Ouroboros virus from Resident Evil 5. And speaking of Resident Evil, the game plays pretty much like Resident Evil 4 and 5. It flows a little bit better and your character isn't as clunky as Leon, and in fact is a bit of a delight to handle. Even when aiming down sights, the character moves gracefully from side to side when needed. Early in the game you're given a signature weapon, which is the glaive. The three-pronged boomerang frisbee style weapon that Hayden enjoys throwing for others to catch whilst they hang out in the quad. The glaive is actually a pretty respectable idea, and it was the main selling point in the game. But somewhere from obtaining it and slicing off 50 screaming guards' heads, the game starts to feel slightly repetitive. You run into a room, take cover by the doorway, and throw your glaive at all of the enemies which are in range. Once you've decapitated all of the guards within your reach, you then move forward slightly and proceed to repeat the process. That's until the final enemies enter the room, giving you an exit point. I had hoped that in this game they could mix things up a little. They could have given the character some better abilities to mess around with in different ways on different levels, mixing up the combat, but in my opinion the game fails to adequately pull this off. This next section is a spoiler alert, so if you want to play the game for yourself and don't want it to be ruined, then click the button on screen now and it'll skip this section. So even in the later levels of the game, when you put on a mechanical android suit, Hayden feels like he could be knocked over by a brisk wind. It was at this point I thought I was going to have a massive payout for diving behind all the cover throughout every battle, and be given the ability to run around dispersing enemies as if they were a hearty bowl of cereal. It's not all doom and gloom in this game. I actually do enjoy the gameplay and the story is not as horrendous as it could have been. The replayability of the game is lacking, but back in the day I did find I got a lot of pleasure from playing the multiplayer VIP style missions. For a game made in 2008, this game does look fantastic. The high contrast in the game looks spectacular, and though the game does lack a colourful palette, it falls into a pit of games that think sticking LEDs to the protagonist will make him appear to be cooler. I have to say in Dark Sector that actually works though. The character's arm is enveloped by a metallic virus and eventually his scars slowly glow. This appearance change is there to mirror the character's development throughout the game. As I have said, I am being biased about this game. I think it missed a few key points.
It's not a bad game and I would recommend that people should try it. However, I am being very cynical of Dark Sector, because I followed the game from concept to completion and was really excited about the end product. I just wish that I could have played the game that Digital Extremes wanted me to play.